everyone, welcome to my new video. In my previous guide for Vengeance Demon Hunter, I covered the basics of the Feldscar build in a dungeon setting. This build was, and arguably still is, the best setup for Mythic Plus dungeon runs. However, since then, the Aldrachi Reaver Hero Talents have been gaining popularity and are appearing more frequently in the top rankings, which has left many players wondering how to play with this build effectively. After spending some time experimenting with the Aldrachi Reaver build myself, I wanted to create this addendum to my previous guide. In this video, I'll highlight the build, share my thoughts on its performance and explain how to play it. Before we dive in, if you find this video helpful, please consider liking it, and if you enjoy my content, subscribing to the channel would really help me out. I'll be covering some key essentials as we go over the hero talents that make this build work, which will help you understand the rotation part of this video better. Starting with Art of the Glaive. Every time you consume 20 soul fragments, you activate the core mechanic of this hero talent, which revolves around two different ability combos, one for single target and another for AoE. After consuming 20 soul fragments, your throw glaive ability converts to Reaver's Glaive, which is always the opener of your Reaver's combo, or as the tooltip describes it, your well-practiced pattern of glaive work. Reaver's Glaive empowers Fracture and Soul Cleave, boosting their damage and adding synergies that will help in either single target or AoE, which I'll circle back to in a bit. Then we have Fury of the Aldrachi, which makes your Soul Cleave do 3 additional slashes, and as the tooltip states, if cast after Fracture, it will do 6. This highlights the AoE combo I mentioned. First you do Reaver's Glaive, Fracture and then a fully empowered Soul Cleave for maximum AoE damage. Evasive Action is a nice quality of life addition, giving you a second Vengeful Retreat within 3 seconds of casting the first one. Reaver's Mark is a debuff applied to your target only after casting an enhanced Fracture, increasing the target's damage taken. While it's unclear if this debuff benefits the entire group, if it does, that alone would make this build highly valuable for Mythic Plus runs, especially on the tyrannical affix. The second line of the talent highlights the single target combo. Start with Reaver's Glaive, follow up with Soul Cleave and finish with Fracture. This approach doubles the debuff to 14%, maximizing your single target damage potential. The next talent, Aldrachi Tactics, is something to keep in mind as it generates an additional soul fragment during your Reaver combo. Moving on to the next choice node, Incorruptible Spirit makes every heal from your soul fragments grant you a shield for 15% of the amount healed. By itself, this may not seem like much, but considering we sometimes feel a bit squishy, especially when dealing with fewer targets and bosses, this shield helps to smooth out damage spikes and might be another reason why this build is preferred at times, particularly on tyrannical weeks. I've created a weak aura to track the absorption from this ability, and in this clip you can see that at one point I had a shield equivalent to about 10% of my health pool, which helped significantly during tank busters while I had to stay mobile. On AoE packs, this shield is less impactful, but as you'll see in this clip, it still provides frequent, free absorption and adds to your self-sustain. Wounded Quarry is another reason that even in AoE, when possible, you must keep focusing your Reaver's Mark target, since every melee attack has a chance to generate an additional soul fragment. Another simple one that doesn't really change your rotation. Incisive Blades increases your soul cleave damage by 10%. Keen Engagement lets Reaver's Glaive generate additional fury, and Warblade's Hunger empowers your Fracture with every soul fragment you consume. And lastly, we have Thrill of the Fight, making it so that after every Reaver's combo you execute, you'll get a buff increasing your attack speed by 15% for 20 seconds, and damage and healing by 20% for 10 seconds. The aim of this build basically is to weave your rotation in such a way that you optimize the uptime of this buff. I've already covered the class and spec talents in depth in my previous guide, which you can find linked in the description below. So here I'll quickly go over the key differences. On the class side, the most noteworthy and mandatory change is swapping Collective Anguish for the Hunt, as this instantly grants you Reaver's Glaive. On the spec side, we don't need to work towards Spirit Bomb, so we can take a more defensive approach by picking calcified spikes and putting a second point into Painbringer. Finally, we swap Soul Carver for Feed the Demon to further enhance our soul absorption. Alternatively, you could take an even more defensive approach by using Spirit Bomb combined with Painbringer, Soulmonger and Feed the Demon. Next to that, you can also consider dropping Ascending Flame for Sigil of Chains if you prefer for more control. As a quick side note, something I didn't mention in my previous guide, this setup works just as well for the Feldscar build. Rotation wise, I'll focus on the main differences compared to the Feldscar build. For a more in-depth explanation of the rotation and how other spells work and are prioritized, feel free to check out my full guide. When running Aldrachi Reaver with Spirit Bomb, the same priority applies, but note that Fel Devastation no longer empowers either Spirit Bomb nor Soul Cleave. Your main goal is to reach 20 soul fragments for Reaver's Glaive as quickly as possible, or use the Hunt for an instant activation. Ideally, you should track how many soul fragments you've consumed to avoid wasting the Hunt when you're already close to 20 fragments. Also, keep in mind that with Reaver's Glaive ready, you don't have to use it immediately, allowing you to save up the next batch of soul fragments for the next rotation. This lets you optimize Thrill of the Hunt uptime as much as possible. For AoE, the combo is Reaver's Glaive, Fracture and Soul Cleave. Using Fracture before Soul Cleave ensures more slashes from Soul Cleave and doing more damage. Maintaining the same target for your combo optimizes damage and soul fragment generation, so focus on the closest target for better Soul Cleave funneling. For single target, the combo is Reaver's Glaive, Soul Cleave and then Fracture. Doing an enhanced Soul Cleave before an enhanced Fracture doubles the damage buff, increasing Reaver's mark from 7 to 14%, which is ideal for single target. In the filler rotation, focus on saving soul fragments to heal with Soul Cleave when needed. Avoid wasting Fracture charges and Fury, and use Foul Blade for Fury generation if necessary. The key to this is to maximize Thrill of the Hunt and Reaver's Mark uptime while managing soul fragments strategically. This concludes my guide to the Aldrachi Reaver build for Vengeance Demon Hunters. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It would help out a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.